Alright, this video is for those of you who don't want to die in high school. So, yeah, listen up and pay close attention. So, there's these bad things called drugs, and one of them is called marijuana. It's also known as weed. This is a weed. Don't do weed. But what does weed do, you may ask? Well, there's this thing called a brain, and you probably have one. And most of the time, it's made up of things called neurons, and these things send neurotransmitters. And when you take weed, it's an agonist drug, so it stimulates neurons to release more dopamine than normal, and for some reason that's bad, so don't do weed. Next up, you will also need to be able to navigate the social atmosphere of school. As you'll notice that people hang out in friend groups, also known as cliques. Now, this is a naturally occurring phenomenon. You'll have to be able to decide what kinds of friends you'll make, because making the wrong kinds of friends will have bad consequences later on. By trying to gain approval and avoid disapproval, you're going to appeal to normative social influence. And some of the bad things that can happen when you're surrounded by all this negative influence is something called de-individuation, where you lose your individual identity and morals in favor of the group's mentality. This is often destructive, as evident in events like riots or like that time someone ate poop after the Eagles won a Super Bowl. So basically, to sum it up, if you do make friends, make the right ones. Because when you're in social situations, it's often harder to make decisions than if you were by yourself. So yeah, basically, have good friends and never eat poop. After all this, you may find yourself asking, wait, but what about grades? How am I supposed to get good grades? Well, for starters, don't slack off and don't procrastinate. Because when Dante wrote of the 9 rings of hell, he forgot to mention the 10th one, and that's procrastination hell. There is one very effective way to avoid this situation, and that is what psychology calls the spacing effect. So, what is the spacing effect? So basically, psychological studies and research have shown that spreading out your study sessions and spreading out your memorization sessions over a long period of time may actually help you to retain more information than if you just crammed everything 2 seconds before the actual assessment at school. So now, before we move on to our final and most important subject, let's just sum up what we've learned so far. First, we learned to not do drugs. Remember, drugs, not hugs. Number 2, we learned to not make idiot friends. Number 3, we learned to not cram and instead space out our studying so we can retain the most information and the most learning. Now, the final point regards how you're going to live out your life in high school. Although there are the technical things like getting good grades, uh, not being a failure and disgracing your family, and using protection, there's also just the aspect of being a fellow human being and just having courtesy to other people and helping people when they need it. Let's refer to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. After our physiological, safety, belongingness, and love needs, and esteem needs, we reach self-actualization, the top of the pyramid. And what that is achieving one's full potential and using that potential to help other people in need. Now, when it comes to self-actualization, people believe, or most people believe, that it's achieved much later in life. But I personally believe that it can be achieved much earlier in life. For example, physiological needs. Most of these are met for most high school students. Stuff like water, food, shelter. Safety needs are also met, like security, safety. Belongingness and love needs are also met, like family and friends. Esteem needs are also met. Our activities, our achievements, and goals, they all affirm our esteem.
And what's left is self-actualization. I believe that if high school students can realize their full potential and they can use that potential to really change the world and really help others. And I think that's the key to surviving high school. It's not about what you do, but what you do for others.
So to conclude, I just want to say good luck, and I hope you have a great first year at Briarwoods High School.